first time, I believe, right? You've been in Thailand before.
Yeah, been in Thailand many times. Came out here in 2004.
Right.
Did some training then. And I was spent a few months out here doing some movies and TV work as well. So I love Thailand. So as soon as I got the opportunity to come out here and spend some time here and see this gym and this facility, I was over the moon.
Right. So how do you think about the place, right? Because I know you've trained for so many years and in very different gyms. How does it feel to be here in Bangtao, seeing how the facilities are?
Anyone that trains here, you have no idea how lucky you are. I'm telling you, this place is unbelievable. What a beautiful gym, an amazing location. Like when I started my career, I remember sitting in this shitty little room. It was freezing cold. There was ice on the mats. We were all trying to figure out different ways to escape a triangle, you know, and now all you got to do is go online, look on YouTube, you know, but like, you're surrounded by this amazing food, great people. You can do everything under one roof.
Right.
I used to travel all over the place just trying to learn wrestling, drive 3 hours that way to do a bit of jiu-jitsu, you know. And now here you are in Phuket in this amazing facility. You guys are lucky bastards.
I know, right? And talk about the weather, though, because I know in England it's freezing. How does it feel when you're throwing a kick and you're breaking your feet? And, and here it's warmer, obviously, probably better, right?
It makes such a difference to be able to train in a warm environment. But I remember this place I used to train in England. It was an old sausage factory, right? And it used to rain all the time. So the rain would come through the roof, and then in the night it would freeze. So literally on the mats we had massive ice puddles. So it was freezing, like, and you get injured. The coach would stop the training to show a technique or something. And then we'd start training again, and people were pulling muscles and whatever, hurting themselves. So yeah, this is a little bit different.
Right. All right. So now that we have you here, and I know some of these guys here might become the next superstar in the UFC. Who knows, right? So there's something I want to touch about you is that you have a bulletproof mind. You know, you've been through all type of adversities, all type of fights, and that's really what I want to dive into today. You know, the mindset behind becoming a champion. You fought all type of champions, and I gotta say there must be something that you guys all have in common. What is it that makes you guys champions?
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to what do you want to do with your life? You know, what do you want out of this life? And it depends. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's fighting or business or family or whatever. Do you want to be successful? Do you want to be the best? Do you want to be remembered? Do you want to be a champion? And ultimately, it comes down to you. You know, you can have the best gym in the world. You can have the best coaches in the world. But if you're not willing to work and sacrifice and work your fucking ass off, then it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? You can be given everything you want. You can have access to the best everything. But if you're not willing to make the sacrifices, you're not going to make a difference. If you want to be the best, if you want to be a champion, if you want to be successful, you got to work, you got to sacrifice, you got to suffer, you got to start at the bottom. You know, people are going to laugh at you and say, oh, this guy can't do it. You know, well, of course they're going to say that because you're starting at the bottom in anything that you do in life, you know, so you've got to just be willing to, you got to be strong-minded, you got to believe in yourself, you got to have a will, you got to go through shit.
Right.
You know, if you're going to make it to the top, you're going to start at the bottom and slowly work your way up.
I think, you know, if we talk about combat sport, obviously we all know it's some of the toughest sports. But I think there's one thing that people forget is that in combat sport, it's the easiest sport to give up. You're in control of giving up at any time. Any minute you can just say, I want to quit. You can't do that in some other sports. In football, you may want to give up, but you still got to go 90 minutes. So how do you, knowing that you have that power to just give up whenever you want, but you have to be in control, how do you deal with that?
Well, is this what you want to do? You know, I mean, some of us we're all good at different things. You know, my skill was always fighting, you know, and I was like, this is what I'm good at. And of course, yeah, you struggle along the way, but you're supposed to struggle. It's supposed to be hard. You know, fighting for a living is never going to be easy. You know, and I think that kind of giving up, it's not really what a fighter does. You know, just because you lose a fight or whatever, you can't give up on yourself. So, you know, I mean, how badly do you want it? How badly do you want it? If you want it bad enough, you want to build a great life, if you want to make some money, or you just want to win a fight, it doesn't matter whether you're a world champion or, you know, having your first ever amateur fight. Do you want to be successful? do you want to win? You know, I mean, it's the loneliest place in the world, being in a ring or a cage. It's not a team sport. You can't, you know, if you're playing football and, you know, you're having a shitty day, you just, whatever, you can blend into the background. If you're in a ring or a cage, and I learned this lesson very early in life. I had a kickboxing fight that I didn't train for. It was 8 rounds. I was used to knocking everybody out in the first round. So my coach called me and was like, have you been training? I'm like, yeah. I had just been partying all the time. He said, well, we've got a title fight for you. 8 rounds next week. Do you want to do it? I said, yeah, sure. Thinking I'd knocked the guy out again in the first round. Anyway, I didn't. And for 4 rounds, I tried to kill him. And then I ran out of gas. And I couldn't breathe. I was so tired. And I got the shit kicked out of me for 4 rounds. And it's the loneliest place on earth. You can't hide behind anyone. It's just you and your opponent with the world or the crowd watching. It's embarrassing. You can't hold your hands up. You don't want to be there. You're getting physically beaten up off somebody else. So I learned that lesson very, very early. Right. That you have to work hard and give it your all, because fighting isn't a game. You know, it's not soccer. It's not football. You're not trying to put a ball in the back of a net.
Right.
The idea is to try and render your opponent unconscious, to beat them up, to knock them out, to beat them into submission, whatever it is, you know. So it's not a game, and people need to respect that.
You've mentioned a few times already, how bad do you want it? At what stage do you know how bad you want it? I mean, some of the guys here are just started for maybe a year. They're still amateurs. They don't know if they want to become world champions. Is this something that you've had from day one, or is this something that grows into you? Like, yes, this is what I want to become. This is what I want to do. How does it work?
Yeah, no, I started doing martial arts when I was 8 years old, and I loved it. I was very good at it. But back then, you know, the 80s and the 90s, it wasn't a career. It wasn't something that you did for money. You did it for love. And then, you know, I got into my teenage years, 18, 19. I forgot all about martial arts. I was too busy going out partying and having a good time. And I was working at a dead-end job, and I met my wife there. We weren't married then. And we had 2 children, and we had no money, and we were broke. And I was sick of working 60 hours a week and still having nothing at the end of it. And this guy that I was working with said to me, you seem like a pretty smart guy, Michael, smart kid. He said, you seem like a smart kid. Is this what you want to do forever? And I said, fuck no way. I don't want to work in this factory. He said, well, give it a thought, because soon you're going to grow older. It's going to go by in the blink of an eye. You think you got so much time, but you don't. So give it a thought about what you want to do. So I did. For the first time ever, I went away and thought, what am I good at? What are my skills? And I kept coming back to, well, I can fight. And I'd done a lot of martial arts when I was a kid. And humbly, I won every tournament I ever entered. And when I was younger, I used to have a lot of street fights. And, you know, I was undefeated on the streets as well. So I knew I could fight.
Right.
So I went into work one day. I said, hey, I figured it out.
Right.
What I'm going to do. And he takes his tool belt off and he walks over, rubbing his hands. Okay, what's the plan?
Right.
You're going to go to college. You're going to get a degree. You're going to be a doctor.
And the answer was?
I'm like, I'm going to be a professional fighter. And he was like, oh, God, I thought you were smart.
Right.
You know, and then I met somebody, and he told me all about the UFC. I'd never heard of the UFC.
Right.
They said there's a way to make money there. So for me, it was purely about money, if I'm being honest. But I was trying to build a life for my family.
Right.
I wasn't doing it out of ego. I wasn't doing it because I think it's cool. I was doing it because I'm trying to pay the bills, give my family the best life possible. And, you know, it was a long journey.
Right.
But it paid off in the end.
Right. And I think, you know, for a lot of athletes, it's probably how it is in the beginning, right? You want to have a better life. You want to make some money. But then for your case, though, you reached that at a certain point. You were famous, you were successful, you already had money, and then you went through the biggest injury an athlete could go through. You know, some of us, we have a broken bone, tear muscle, and then we just give up. We just feel like, okay, this is it, my career is over. You lost an eye, which is like nobody has ever had such an injury and then kept on going. So there must be something else behind, I just want to be successful. There's something else behind that.
Yeah, it's not that deep. I mean, obviously, people like to see this. You've probably seen it online. There's the fake eye. You know, whoop-de-doo. Hold on. Put it back in.
I didn't expect him to do that. I'm not gonna lie.
You got to do it. Injuries are part of the sport. And I lost an eye.
Right.
And I've got 2 total knee replacements.
Right.
I had 3 neck surgeries
But
last
it's something
year.
to have that, and it's something else to lose
I
an
need
eye.
to have surgery on my wrist.
Right.
I'm covered in scars. I used to be a good-looking guy back in the day. My body's destroyed. My
Right.
body's destroyed. But I've got no regrets. I've lived an incredible life, and I still live an incredible life. And my family are living an incredible life. So to me, this is nothing. Yeah, I live in pain. I've got a torn labrum right now. I need to get surgery on that. But it's all been worth it,
Right.
you know? Like, I could have spent my life working a dead-end job, you know, being miserable, you know, but I've lived life. So, yeah, the eye happened, and I had 6 surgeries on that, and I went blind in my eye, and I still was able to continue fighting, but it didn't feel like anything at the time.
Right.
Like, everyone said I couldn't fight, and
Okay.
the doctors were like, oh, no, you can't fight anymore.
Obviously.
And I was like, what are you talking about? You know? And I found a way to lie
Right.
and cheat my way through the tests. Fortunately, being a little shit when I was younger paid off, you know. To use an English expression, I could blag my way through the tests, and I
Right.
cheated and whatnot. But that didn't seem like anything like
Right.
crazy at the time. Looking back, I'm like, what was I thinking? Fighting with one eye and stuff
Right.
like that. And I was warned that if anything happened to my good eye, I'd go blind.
Right.
But it didn't seem like I was taking a risk. It didn't feel like anything crazy. At that time, I was just living my life and getting through my day.
Right. Obviously, you know, nowadays branding is a big part of being a fighter, being an athlete. Being successful comes with branding. How do you handle yourself? Are you popular enough? What do you say on the mic? And you were one of the early guys to actually know how to do that. You knew how to sell a fight. You were really good at trash talking. Was it natural? Was this something that you actually learned how to build? How was it?
Yeah, I mean, you use the term build a brand and stuff like
Right.
that. If anyone's trying to build a brand, you're not going to do that. Certainly in fighting. If you're trying to be a personality, if you're trying to put on a character, if you're trying to be fake, no one's interested in that, and they can see right through it. I've always just been myself, you know, and sometimes that's been good, and sometimes that's been bad, and sometimes I've said things that I really regret, and sometimes I've said things that I'm proud of, you know, but I've always been authentic, and I've always been myself. You know, when I was fighting somebody, yeah, looking back, I'd like to say, oh, I was trying to sell the fight, but for me, fighting was very personal. And when I looked at my opponent, I looked at this guy's trying to beat me up. He's trying to take away my hopes and dreams. So for me, when I was talking shit, I meant it. I wasn't selling the fight.
Okay.
I'm like, I'm going to beat the shit out of you, buddy.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you're trying to beat the shit out of me. So until this is done, you're my enemy, you know? And yes, of course, you can have you George St. Pierre's of the world, you know, who I love George. I think he's incredible, and he's a great example to martial artists. He's an incredible person, but I'm not George St. Pierre, and I used to, but I'm authentic, and that's what going back to what you were saying about building a brand. You shouldn't be thinking about that.
Right.
You shouldn't be thinking about building a brand. You should be trying to win fights, work your way up, and if you can be entertaining, if you've got that personality, great. But if you don't have that personality, don't force it. Just be yourself. Be natural. Be authentic. And people can relate to that.
Right. And I think it's good you mentioned GSP because at the time, obviously, he was the good guy, and then you automatically became the bad guy. How do you go through with that? You embrace and saying, all right, I'll be the bad guy if you want me to. And, you know, we're chasing likes and being loved and liked. And how do you go through going through social media and people are like, I don't like you. You're the bad guy.
Yeah, that's not, I mean, online, people say a lot of shit. You go to Twitter, you're going to see a lot of nasty stuff. You got social media, everyone talks, you know, but when I meet people, they say nice things, you know, so it's not the real world, social media. And yeah, going back to like George St. Pierre or other fights, in America, the English are always the bad guy.
Right.
You know, so I was always painted as the bad guy early. So I'm like, all right, you want me to be a bad guy? I can lean into that. I can be a bad guy.
Right.
And as I said, if I'm going to fight someone, it used to feel very personal. So I would just, you know, I looked like a bad guy.
Right.
And I was fine with that.
Right.
I'm not here to be your friend. I'm
And
here
that
to
makes
beat the
sense?
shit out of you.
Right, right. Now I wanna go into that was scary the way he looked at me and said that. What the fuck? All right, so I wanna go into fight camp. You know, what's your thought process behind? I'm gonna have this fight. How do you prepare yourself mentally going into a fight?
Whose fight is here?
Raise your hand. Is there any fighters? Yeah, there is.
Raise
There's
your
a couple
hands.
of fighters.
It's not hard. You got to work your fucking ass off. It's as simple as that. Simple as that. You can have all these coaches, and you can have your nutritionist, and you can have your sports psychologist, and your strength and conditioning coach, and you can have your green days, and your orange days, and your red days, and your hard days, and your recovery, and your ice bath, and your stretching, and all this shit.
Right.
And you can have everyone micromanaging and saying, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. Work your ass off. Simple as that. Train hard. Run hard. Hit pads hard. Spar hard. Wrestle hard. Push yourself to the absolute limit. Because when you're in that ring and you get tired, no one gives a fuck if you're tired. And as I said before, it's a horrible place to be. You want to be successful, be in shape, work hard. And that's it. You can try and overcomplicate it and make it sound scientific, you know. But out here in Thailand, you guys have been producing the best Thai boxers for thousands of years.
Right.
Before the internet, before everyone was micromanaging stuff.
Right.
They've been boxing for hundreds of years, you know. They could do 12 rounds, no problem, standing on their head.
Absolutely.
Without all this sports science stuff. Work hard, get out of bed, go for a run. If you're overweight, eat less. If you can't spar too good, spar more. You just got to work hard.
Do you believe there's a training blueprint to become a champion? You got to do it this way and that way, Monday, Tuesday, or not?
I mean, I'm sure the way I did it was wrong, you know, because I did work very hard and I was often overtrained, you know, but I'd rather be overtrained than underprepared, you know. It's hard to know because a lot of people these days don't like to spar too hard, you know, because of injuries.
Right.
Or they don't like getting punched in the face. You're going to fight. You got to get used to sparring.
Right.
Do you know if you want to get better at playing football? Play football. You want to get better at tennis? Play tennis. You want to get better at fighting?
Fight.
You've got to practice fighting. So you've got to spar. But obviously you don't want to get injured, so you got to have sparring partners that you trust. But you still got to spar. So put your mouthpiece on, put your headgear on, get big gloves, and go to war 3 times a week.
When do you know if you're going over the limit or not? I mean, injuries are part of training, and I'm sure all the fighters here know some days your chin hurts and then you've got this and that. Do you need to stop? Do you need to keep on training? How do you find out? How do you know that?
Yeah, so my old boxing coach, Jason Perillo, was told me, and it's absolutely true, it takes confidence to take a day off. Meaning, you know, when you know that you're working hard and you know that you're on track to win, you know, or be in shape. You can't guarantee you're going to win the fight, but you can show up on weight and in shape. That's the only 2 things you can control. And if you know you're on track to do those things, and if you are a little beat up, and if you are a little sore, if you have a little injury, you know, it takes confidence to take a day off. Now, that can be exploited, and people can say, oh, I'm going to rest today. It's important that I have my recovery.
Right.
But only the fighter in question knows if they're exploiting that, you know? So, yeah, you gotta rest a bit here and there, but you gotta work hard.
Right.
I know I keep saying that, you know, but that's it.
Right.
Find good coaches, find good sparring partners, and sacrifice. And only we know if we're sacrificing.
Right.
Only we know when we're running, if our lungs are burning. And you can cheat everyone, but you're only cheating yourself.
Right.
When I would go for runs by myself, no coach, nobody, I'm running through the neighborhood. looking like a psychopath to the
Right.
neighbors, but I'm trying to get in shape for a fight. You know, anytime I trained, I was like that, because you've got to put yourself in that state, because you got to train the way that you're going to fight, and you're gonna fight at 100 miles an hour. You know,
Right.
you ain't gonna take it easy.
Right.
So you got to train like that.
I think for athletes, there needs to be a good balance between being aware of how good you are and where you stand in order to progress. But at the same time, you need that other balance of saying, lying to yourself and telling yourself you're the best. How do you balance yourself and not completely lying to yourself and saying, I'm the best of the world and I don't care what people say, but at the same time being aware of, I need to improve every day?
You don't know you're the best in the world. And anyone that sits there and thinks, I'm the best in the world, then they're probably not. They're probably lying to themselves. When you're fighting, most of the time, unless you're a little bitch that's taking easy fights, you don't know if you're going to win. But it's like, I'm going to try. I'm willing to fight this guy. I'm willing to take this chance. I'm willing to step in front of the world. I'll go in this octagon. I'll fight this guy. I think I can beat him. I'm going to train.
But you still go out there and tell the world that you're going to win, world.
Of course, because I believe in myself.
Right.
You know, unless you're a bully, unless you're doing what Jake Paul does and boxing 58-year-old guys, you know.
All right, we're going there.
No, but,
All right.
no, but it's true. You got to challenge yourself. And
Right.
like, yeah, I'm the best in the world. Being the champ is something that you earn at some point, maybe if you're lucky, and it doesn't last forever. You know, and yeah, I was a champion of the world once. It does, you know, and John Jones was an incredible champion for a long time. And GSP, there's like an Anderson Silva. You got some really special people, but most of the time the belt changes hands. You know,
Right.
it doesn't last forever. You gotta goes back to working hard, but you gotta believe in yourself.
Right.
You're scared going into every fight. You don't feel like the champion of the world when you're walking out for a title fight. I mean, yeah, you are the champ. Yeah, you have the belt.
Right.
But you're terrified in the locker room.
Right.
You know, and every time I would fight, I would look around at my coach and go, why the fuck do I do this? You know, I'm going to walk out here in front of these people. I might get my ass kicked.
Right.
And I've had my ass kicked.
Right.
And I've been knocked out. And you still go back for more, you know, because the feeling of winning is the best feeling in the world. And it's like, this is the path I'm on. This is who I am.
Right.
You know, but you never feel, ooh, I'm the best.
Right.
You're full of shit if you say that, or you're a liar, or you might be the best,
Right.
but you should never say that. You should never think, I mean, yeah, you know, you say it at press conferences and stuff. I'm
Right.
talking about sitting around the dinner table
Yes.
with your wife or your friends. He's, oh, I'm the best in the world, though.
Right.
You can say it at a press conference, I'm the fucking best in the world, and fuck you, I'm going to beat your ass, all
Right.
that type of shit. But when you're sitting down having dinner with your friends and family, you don't go, yeah, but I'm the best in the world, guys, so I'm going to win.
But is this
You
something-
sound like a dickhead.
Is this something you tell yourself when, like you mentioned, you're scared, you don't know if you're actually going to win or not? Is this something that you actually have to tell yourself, I'm going to be fine, I'm the best, I'm going to be fine?
No, I never said that to myself once. I never said I'm the best. I said, I'm going to give it my best. I'm going to show up the best version of me. I'm going to train hard. I'm going to make all the sacrifices. I'm going to be disciplined. I'm going to push myself to the limit. And hopefully that's enough. You know, I never sit there and go, I'm going to win this because I'm the best. I say, okay, I can fight. This is what I do. I've won lots of fights. There's a reason I'm in this position. You know, there's a reason I'm the main event. There's a reason I've worked my way up. There's a reason I'm fighting for the belt, you know. But you never say, oh, I'm the best. Because there's always the next guy.
Right.
There's always someone else.
Right.
You know, but you try your best, you know, and hopefully that's enough.
Obviously, coming up from a different era, you're not that old, but a different era from what it is now. And you mentioned Jake Paul just now. It is a different era now. You know, fighters are different. Social media is completely different. How do you look at this? Do you think that, you know, the younger generations have it easier or harder, or they're not as tough or tougher? How do you look at it?
The sport, mixed martial arts and combat sports have never been more popular. And I think that's a great thing. I think it's a great way of life. I think it's a fantastic thing for any young men or women to focus on, to learn how to protect yourself, to train martial arts. because it gives you so much confidence in life, you know, and it's so healthy for you mentally, physically. The benefits are endless. And some of those people are going to go on to become professional fighters. And because the sport's bigger, because there's more people doing it, and there's more events, you've still got incredible fighters, and you've got some that aren't the best, you know. But that's just the way it's always been. There's just more of them now, you know. So, like, I mean, look at Ilia Topuria. You know, he's just incredible. I could not be a bigger fan of this guy. He can do it all, and he might go down as the best we've ever seen, you know. So yeah, the level of the talent gets better and better.
Right.
You're trying to get me to say bad things about people.
I'm not absolutely
There's some
not.
people that aren't very good, but they won't fight for very long.
Right.
And there's some people that are great. You know, just like I said before, you start at the bottom.
Right.
No one owes you this life.
Right.
You have to work for it, and you have to prove to the world.
Right.
And if you can prove it, you might be an Ilia Topuria or a John Jones. And if you can't, you're going to be forgotten about, and you're going to be looking for a job.
Absolutely. And I'm actually, you know, glad you went that direction, because, you know, I think a lot of former champions have that nostalgia of saying it was better before, you know, where sports are evolving, fighters are getting better, any sport. And I'm actually glad you're saying it that way. And I'm not trying to get you to say anything. I just wanted to have the thought process behind that, you know.
Because there is, listen, there's some people that don't want to train hard.
Right.
That see the sport growing and think, oh, I can do this, and I can be on TV, and I can make money, and they love the image. You know, it's back in the day in the 90s, you know, there was a Tap Out, was a clothing company, and you could spot them a mile away. They got the Tap Out t-shirt, they're covered in tattoos. You know, I do MMA, bro.
Branded MMA fighter.
You know, yeah, exactly. So you still get that.
Right.
You still get that, but amongst all of that, there's real fighters as well.
Right.
The sport's getting better and better.
Of course. I'll have one last question before I actually get you guys to talk to him, because, again, I want to make it about you guys.
Yeah, I want to speak to you guys. You're all sitting there bored out your heads.
Exactly, and not just me. One last question.
Make it a good one.
If you could actually go back in time and have one rematch, what would it be? Or one, maybe not a rematch, but one other fight, what would it be?
I've been asked that question a lot. I always wanted to fight Rich Franklin when I was younger because he was the champ. I would love another go against Vitor Belfort, because he's a cheating prick and he's a hypocrite. Simple as that. I mean, the thing is, it's crazy because as you get older,
right,
you don't hold grudges.
Right.
And this is the great thing about fighting, because, you know, when you're younger and you're growing up, you're trying to prove yourself and you're trying to be tough and you puff your chest out and you act hard. And you want everyone to think, oh, fucking, he's an old bastard, you know? When you be successful at fighting, you're not like that anymore.
Right.
And then certainly when you retire, you're not like that.
You don't care.
I've done it. I've proved myself. I don't need to prove that I can beat someone in a fight.
Right.
I've done that.
Right.
And it's not even that important in life. Well, you know, so I don't really think about that. I don't have any grudges. Right. I don't have anyone I want to punch in the face. I mean, there's a couple of people in my personal life that I would like to put down, but in the MMA world, yeah, no grudges.
All right. Well, that was great. All right, guys, now if
Boring
you have a
answer.
question, please raise your hand and you guys get to talk to him directly, man.
Don't pity clap. There's a little golf clap.
Hey, I actually don't want to ask a question. I just want to congratulate you, bro. So you won a belt against a healthy, big Luke Rockhold with one fucking eyeball. We owe you a standing ovation, man. Like,
yes, sir.
Holy
Well, go on,
fucking
man.
shit,
Yes,
man.
Well, give me one.
Whoa!
Let's go. Let's go. There we go. Finally, some fucking
This is
energy.
Michael Bisping, boys.
All right.
Whoa!
Well, I got to stand as well. Thank you, brother. What's your name? Josh. Thank you, Josh. Yeah, I did. I knocked out Luke Rockhold on 2 weeks' notice with one eye. I hadn't been in an MMA gym for months. I was shooting a movie, but, you know, conceive, believe, achieve, and all that. So, yeah, but thank you, Josh. Appreciate it, brother.
Hi, Mike. This is Gary from Fightfield MMA Shanghai. I have just two quick questions. First question is that, are you going to commentate August 23rd?
I will be there in Shanghai. I'm here for 2 weeks. The family flies home, and from here I go directly to Shanghai. So yes.
Nice. Second question is, I'm a content creator. I just started. So I was going to ask you a favor. Can you do a video with me after the Q&A or after the seminar? So what I do, I just go around breaking cards, UFC cards, and in a different way, So it's
Yeah,
very
sure.
unique.
I mean, Bangtao paid me a fortune to be here. They fly my family out. They're looking after me. They put me in a hotel. But we'll do yours for free. Yeah, I'm joking. I'm joking.
They're gonna love it.
I'll
for
do
sure.
2 hours of Q&As, and then we'll do another
So
hour.
it will be like 1 minute. It will be
Oh,
quick.
yeah, no, of course. Yeah,
Okay,
no
cool.
problem. No
Thank
problem.
you.
Hi, Michael. How's it going? Just want to hear your maddest weight cut story.
What are you saying? Weight cut?
Weight cut story. Cutting weight.
Oh, weight cut stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, cutting weight is a part of the sport. You know, I wish everyone would move up a weight class, to be honest. There probably should be another weight class. In my opinion, it should go 45, 55, 65, 75, 85, 95, 205, 215, and then heavyweight. But it's not. Because if everyone moved up a weight class, we'd perform better, the sport would be safer, there'd be less injuries, you'd have better cardio, you'd be able to eat throughout your training camp if everyone moved up a weight class. But everyone won't do that. And everyone's always trying to find a way to win and to improve themselves and make sacrifice and work hard, like I was saying. So they all want to move down a weight class and they want to struggle. But it is dangerous. It is dangerous, you know, but people push it to the limit more and more. Crazy weight cut stories. I'm trying to think. I mean, when I cut weight, I turned into a miserable bastard. So my team hated me when I was cutting weight because, you know, in between training camps, I used to fight at 185 towards the end of my career. And I would get up to like 235 in between camps, you know. So I was a fat little bastard. So yeah, it wasn't easy, mate. It wasn't easy. It was miserable, but no crazy stories.
Do you think, touching on that, do you think it will be a solution would be to have a weigh-in 1 hour before the fights? So that way nobody would cut weight?
No, because that makes it even more dangerous.
People will still cut weight?
People are still going to cut weight. It is what it is. It's fight sports. There's money to be made. People are always going to try and get an advantage.
All right, we got somebody else. The team is going to
I
bring
got one. So being a fighter, avenging your loss, meaning beating a guy that beat you before, is probably one of the most satisfying things a fighter could do in their story. You did this twice before, Dan Henderson and Luke Rockhold, to win the title and to defend your title. Tell me about how that felt. What did that mean more than the title? And to kind of go out and do that, what did that mean to you?
Yeah, so beating Luke, obviously, for the belt, obviously huge. You know, it's a lifetime achievement. But the first time I fought Luke Rockhold, obviously now everyone knows I've got one eye. But nobody knew that back then. And a week before the first fight in Australia, I got cut right above my eye. A training partner elbowed me. I had about 10 stitches in my eye. I thought the fight was going to get cancelled. I flew out to Australia, and in the first fight against Luke, we're in Sydney. The fight starts. We go up against the fence, and he headbutts me a little bit, and it opens up the cut. So the blood is going into my good eye, right? So I'm fighting Luke Rockhold. I'm blind in one eye, and the blood is going into my good eye. And I swear to God, I couldn't see. It was like, I always say this, if you take like a tub of paint and throw it on a car windscreen and put the windscreen wipers on, it's just going to smear the blood. Because I was wiping the blood, but all I could see was I could kind of see an image, but it was all red and stuff, and then it would go. So if you watch that first fight back, you can see me wiping my eye like crazy. Because the reality was in that fight, I couldn't see anything. I'd wipe and I'd be like, oh shit, oh yeah, there he is. Then the blood would come in again. And he kicks me in the head. Fair play to him. So he beats me. He gets his hand raised, and I'm standing there, and I was very pissed off because I couldn't say anything. Because obviously, if I said anything, the world would know I had one eye, and I shouldn't be fighting. So I had to sit there and let this fucking, I would say prick, but he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. I had to stand there and let Luke have his moment as the winner. And he was the rightful winner. It's not his fault that I only had one eye and that I was taking chances. But to me, that stung because I was like, I know I can beat him. So yeah, having the rematch and beating him felt great because of that, because I knew I could beat him. And then also becoming the champion, that was amazing as well. So And then the rematch with Dan Henderson, of course, who saw UFC 100. But he was also on testosterone replacement therapy. He was cheating, you know? So it felt good to get revenge for that one as well. But it wasn't easy. He fucked me up a bit as well.
Question, like fighting's made a big part of your life. Have you found it really difficult to transition out of being an active fighter and kind of being in this place in your career?
Not at all. Not at all. In fact, we were just speaking about this earlier backstage. Obviously, I'm still very much involved in mixed martial arts. I work for the UFC. I'm one of the commentators. I love this sport. I was able to build a life and give my family a life with this sport. So it's such an important part of who I am. But because I'm still a part of the UFC, because I get to commentate, I'm still a part of it. You know, very, very much so. Maybe even more than what I used to be. Because, you know, when you fight, you might fight 2, maybe 3 times a year. If you're crazy, 4 times a year. I'm doing 2 events a month. You know, and I get to fly out there. I get to meet the new fighters. Yeah, it's great speaking to like the legends and the champions, but I love meeting the young up-and-coming fighters. I love getting to learn their stories. I love to see their careers progressing, and I love to just be a little part of the show as well. So I'm lucky. You know, it's a corny line, but I'm blessed. You know, the life of a fighter afterwards can be a really, really hard path. And people always say, you know, oh, you ever going to fight again? And I think I'd like to, you know. I think, you know, I'm open to doing one of these boxing fights. I mean, I love it. I love it. I sparred recently. It was, you know, but my neck, I do this a lot. You know, I probably need to get more neck surgeries. But I love it. I've still got it. And I still very much know I can compete. You never know. Maybe one day. Maybe when the UFC fire me and I'm broke and skint, you'll see me fighting some influencer on YouTube. But until then, probably not.
Michael, you've said it before that anger hurts performance and like higher skilled opponents. So how were you able to like train and stay calm and cool and collected during the fights?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I used to think that by getting angry and like, because I'm better these days. I still have my moments, but I used to have a wild temper. You know, I had a really bad anger problem. I was a very angry kid and I grew up in a household that was lots of shouting and craziness. So I had a big anger problem, didn't know how to control my emotions. And I thought when I get angry, I'm a force to reckon with. So before a fight, I used to like sit there and psych myself up and get mad and get angry and then walk out there all tense, ready to beat someone up. And that's the worst way to fight ever. I always say this, you know, you've got to be cool, calm, calculated, composed. You know, I've said this a million times, but I'll say it again. When you're mad or you're angry, you're never the best version of yourself. You always make regrets. You do something that you shouldn't have done. And when you're fighting the best fighters in the world, you can't be acting out of emotion. You can't be swinging and being aggressive for the sake of it. You're in the most violent sport in the world, but you've got to be calm. You've got to be smiling. You've got to be jovial. And that's why when you watch that fight that I had against Luke Rockhold, when I won the belt, here's how you knew I was going to win that fight. When we squared up and we went to touch gloves and he wouldn't touch gloves, and then he went, no touch. And then he touches. He's never been the smartest guy. When I said, no touch. I'll touch you in a second, motherfucker. Because you could see that I was calm. I was cracking jokes. You know what I'm saying? So I knew I was going to have a good performance. You can't go into a fight mad. You got to be calm.
Hey, what's up, Mike? What was one training drill you absolutely hated, but you knew it made you better?
Training partner?
Training drill.
Oh, training drill.
Yeah.
I hated training for wrestlers, you know. And now, I mean, my son's a wrestler. Both of my sons are wrestlers. I think wrestling's an incredible sport. You know, coming from the UK, we don't have a wrestling culture. So I never really got it. I never understood it. I'm like, these pussies just want to roll around on the floor. You know, it's like, fight like a man. Come on, fight me like a man. So I used to hate prepping for wrestlers and takedown defense, getting back to your feet, you know. But I knew that being British, Americans, wrestlers were always going to try and take me down. So I worked so hard on getting back to my feet. And I've got a few little drills that we'll do tomorrow I mean, no fucker could hold me down because it's very easy to get back to your feet. I don't know why people struggle, but because they don't do the work. They don't do the drills. So yeah, prepping for wrestlers. But wrestling now, I have so much respect for wrestlers and what they go through and how hard they work.
We'll get 2 more on this side, and then we'll move over to this side. I think we got a few more this side.
Mike, recently you've been in some controversy with the MMA guru. I just wanted to know what your thoughts on what your thoughts are on him, and whether you think he's a good YouTuber or not.
There's been no controversy with me and the MMA guru. I don't even know who the guy is. I've never met him, obviously. I don't think he leaves his basement. I don't think he gets any sunlight. You know what I mean? He needs to get out there and get a bit of vitamin D. That's all we'll say. He did a video called Michael Bisping is Too Retarded to be a UFC commentator. So forgive me for responding. Do you know what I mean? I think I'm allowed to respond to a video like that. So that was that. You know, listen, I've actually seen some of his stuff and he's pretty funny. I've seen some of the impressions that he does. And I've actually found myself laughing out loud genuinely. So, hey, fair play to him. You know, he did a video. It was insulting. Whatever. Who gives a fuck? I couldn't care less. A lot of people say a lot of bad shit about me. But he does some good content, you know. It's like anyone. The negative content does better. Nobody wants to sit around, and this isn't MMA Guru or anyone, all the negativity channels or content does well because it's gripping, you know. No one wants to watch a video, everything's amazing, this guy's awesome. No, we want to watch a video, this guy's a piece of shit, and here's why. Tabloid sells, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, there's no controversy, you know.
Any advice for young fighters about the actual business of fighting?
Any advice for young fighters? What was the last part?
About the actual business of fighting.
About the actual business of fighting. That's a really good question, mate. How old are you? 13. You hear that, Lucas? He's 13. How many fights you had?
I've had a lot of jiu-jitsu fights, but I've had 10 boxing fights.
Amazing. Well, good luck, brother. Round of applause for this guy here. And we're going to give a round of applause to Lucas and Callum, my boys over here, as they're going to get jealous. Come on. Give it up for the boys. The business side. So you got to be careful. Don't sign any contracts, certainly not at your age. You're a young kid. There should be nobody coming at you with a contract, you know? So don't sign any contracts. When you get older, any contracts that you do sign, you got to have a lawyer look at it, sadly, because there's a lot of people out there that are going to pretend that they're your friend and they care about you. And all they want to do is make money off you. And whilst the world fight sports is great, it's amazing, and it's good for you mentally and physically, you know, there's a lot of shady people. There's a lot of people that are crooks. There's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of good people. There's a lot of bad people. It's like the world, you know, so there's going to be some people that try and rip you off. So always be very, very careful. But no, if you work hard and you're a cool little kid like you look, you can make some money, mate, and you can live a great life. So good luck.
Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. We'll move over to that side now. I know you guys have been waiting.
So you spoke about wrestling, but you have the most significant strikes in middleweight history. What are some drills you use to build up your striking?
Oh, my striking? Drills for striking? I mean, as I said, you know, it's not hard. Number one, you got to be in good shape, because when you get tired, you can't throw punches. You know, you got to hit the bag. You got to spar. You got to do everything to a high intensity. You got to hit rounds. You see some people hit. Like I was saying this because I've got to do an open workout, right? Which I'm dreading because I haven't hit pads in forever. Okay, I've got a lot of injuries. I'm too busy flying around the world doing this kind of stuff. I haven't hit pads for a while, so I said to my wife, "Well, what I'll do is when I'm hitting the pads, I'll just pa. Right. I'll just do that." But I can't, because as soon as someone holds on, and I'll start doing that, right? Because it's just built into me.
Right.
You got to do it with intensity. You know, you got to get in shape, mate. Simple as that. Work hard.
Hi, Michael. Sir Mike, I am a fellow northern lad. I grew up close to where you are from.
Where are you from?
From Bolton.
Oh, Bolton, yeah.
So I just want to say, like, as a teenager, I was getting into boxing. Like, I'm still just an amateur boxer, but I didn't have any exposure to MMA at all. And I just wondered about, I'd hear on the like local news that you like won the title and things like that. So if you were growing up, who did you kind of look to? And was it like one sport, say boxing, that got you into it? How did you like think of putting everything together? Considering you said you had to travel 3 hours and hours and all over the place. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long answer. I don't want to bore everyone. It's very hot and sticky and sweaty. I was going to try and be a boxer. That was my initial plan. But it's a long story, so I won't go into it. What was the question again, though, the first part?
So just like, how did you get to putting it all together? Like,
who was like my inspiration, if you will?
Who were you looking at?
There was no one. There was no one that I looked at that I saw on TV and thought, oh, I want to do that. I want to be this guy. I want to be that guy. I want to copy that career path. Because it hadn't really been done in England. You know what I mean? Yeah, there was Ian Freeman. He was the first guy to fight in the UFC in the UK. And I did a little training with Ian, but I didn't know Ian before I trained with him. And he had a great career. The UFC wasn't very big back then. You know, nobody knew what it was. I remember when I started training for MMA, UFC, I joined a gym, not a gym like this, a weightlifting gym. And I walked in, you got to fill in the forms. And it says, occupation. So I put athlete, you know, and they went, what kind of athlete? I said, fighter. What kind of fighter? MMA. And they looked at me with a puzzled look and like, MMA? I said, cage fighter. And they're like, oh, looked at me like I was a psycho, you know what I mean? No one was doing it back then, you know? So there was no inspiration other than just trying to live my life and make something of myself.
All right, I think we'll have 2 more, and then we'll go to the picture session.
Come on, make it a good one, guys. Ask me some questions about some fighters or something.
Hi.
Sitting here talking about myself.
I don't know if this is a question for you or your wife, but I'm not in the MMA scene, but my husband wants to get into the UFC. What is the #1 support you needed from those closest to you that aren't in the MMA scene?
That's a really good question. Is it your husband? Your husband. You're going to be his #1 support resource. You're going to be the most important thing. You really are, because, you know, when you're fighting for a living, there's a lot goes on up here, and there's a lot physically that you have to go through. And you go to the gym, and we're in a beautiful gym here, right? You've seen how hard everyone works here, and you push yourself to the limit, and you're sore as hell, and you get clipped, and you might get your nose bust, and you get a fat lip, and fucking legs are killing from getting kicked in the legs and all that type of shit, and you're sparring and you're fighting. Last thing you want to do is go home and have another 10 rounds with your wife. Last thing you want to do is go home and just be arguing all the time, because it drains the mental energy. So having most of the successful fighters tend to have a stable home life, you know? Because, I mean, there's people that don't. Some people that were here recently that don't, but but most of them do, you know, and it's so important. You gotta have, and my wife supported me, you know, like I would drive home and I'd be like 5 minutes away from the house. I'm like, start the bacon and eggs. I want them ready, waiting for me when I walk in. You know, she helped me out, make my lunches and all that type of stuff. Yeah, there you go. You're the most important resource.
Well, with that, round of applause for the wife, though.
Come on, round of applause for Rebecca. Come on.
There we go.
Thank you for coming. You know, I've always been a big fan watching you fight, you know, coming up since I started. I had my first MMA fight in 2013. So I've been following for a long time, and
thank you.
I love your work. So my question is, when this happened with your eye, are there any, like, how did you adapt so quickly to being able to, you know, get that precision and just be aware of things coming at you? Like, was there any?
Yeah, so, yeah, he's asking about having one eye. If you don't know, we have two eyes, so you have depth perception. We see things in 3D. I see everything in 2D. Everything looks the same. So your depth perception is a real issue, and it's still an issue. My wife sees me all the time. Like just the other day, I go and grab something. If I'm picking up a glass, I'll miss it on the first time or whatever. You know, I've always been a clumsy bastard, so it helps me out. Now I can say, oh, I got one eye. You know, I'm always walking into walls and shit. But I do now a lot, or lampposts. And if I'm at a restaurant and there's a drink on that side, Rebecca comes along and moves it to that side because I'm going to knock it over. So fighting at that level, you know, it's pretty hard. It's pretty tough. But what I would find is when I was sparring someone, and we say we're sparring here, I'd be punching, I'd be too far away. But then as soon as I made physical contact with the guy, my brain could kind of gauge, I don't know, maybe the size of him, the distance, I could judge it. As soon as I touched or landed with one shot, I was good. But a lot of the time I'm here, I don't know if he's far away or close. You know what I mean? It's hard to describe unless you've done it. I mean, if you close one eye, you don't get the feeling because your brain remembers from a second ago how everything looks. If you put an eye patch on and go to bed and maybe wake up, you might struggle. Fighting was very hard, to be honest. It was very, very hard.
Hey, Mike. What's happening?
Hey, mate.
Earlier you mentioned Taporia. I was just wondering, now you're probably the best person to ask about this. Who do you think possibly poses the biggest threat to him? I know he's undefeated.
To Taporia?
Yeah.
Mate, I don't know. Probably no one. Islam, maybe. Sarukian, maybe. I don't know what he's doing with this whole stuff with Sarukian. Obviously, he's probably having a laugh. He's trying to wind him up and all this type of shit, saying that he would vacate the belt if he's forced to fight Sarukian. I think he's just having a laugh. I don't think Taporia... Listen, here's what I'll tell you. No fighters are afraid of anyone. We're not afraid. No one's scared of anyone. You might think I might win or lose, but the term afraid, no one's afraid of anyone. I don't know, mate. He's knocked everyone out. He's submitting everyone. He's making it look easy. So right now, I don't know if there is anyone.
All right, so before we wrap this up...
Go on. We got one more?
All right. Go ahead, bro.
Hi, Mike. Earlier you mentioned that part of being a fighter is, you put yourself in the gaze of the crowd and you can't hide. I'm interested, when you transitioned into the film industry, you worked on some major blockbusters. And the film industry, similar but different. It's the performing arts. You're working with a lot of egos, a lot of people in suits and ties. And how did you handle that? What did you feel like, working with people who maybe talk to you in a certain way? You couldn't have just punched them in the face.
It's a good point. I've done a bit of acting and stuff now, and I don't like to talk about that shit because I sound like I think I'm an actor. I don't think that at all. But I have done some stuff, and when you show up, most of the time I was doing, bad guy number 4 or whatever, and it's always action stuff. When you get there, they're like, okay, so listen, the big difference is we're not actually trying to hurt the person, okay? I'm like, I know. What do you think I am, a fucking moron? But they do. They say, now listen, Michael, you're going to throw the punch, but you're not actually going to connect. I'm like, I know. We're going to make it look real. So they do. There is a bit of that. There's a lot of that. But they're just trying to make sure that nobody gets hurt.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? But as the fighter standing there, you're like, oh. Do you understand how condescending this conversation is? I'm not sure if I'm answering your question because I couldn't hear too well, but thank you for the question.
Very good. All right, so because you're here and we got to go one last clip farming for Bangtao, who's the best fighter in the UFC right now?
Best fighter in the UFC right now, this second, on the roster. Oof, that's a tough one. Well, what do you guys think? Hold on. Let's do it like this. Taporia? Islam? A lot of Islam fans. Dricus Duplessis? Alex Pereira?
What the fuck?
That dropped off pretty quick. I would say Ilia Taporia.
All right. So now the last one.
And that's why he's pound for pound number 1.
So now the last one, because you said it before, negativity brings views. Who's the worst fighter in the UFC right now?
Well, worst fighter in the UFC right now. I won't say right now because they're fighting, but we've had some shockers over the years. You know, Tim Kennedy, even though he beat me, he sucks balls. There's a few others. Who's some bad ones, Carl? Come on, Carl, give me a bad one. Yeah, I only said Tim Kennedy because of the stolen valor thing. You know what I mean? It's like, it's easy to go down that one. Give me a fighter, Carl. Come on, give me a bad fighter. I'm not answering that question. Give me another question, though, a funny one.
A funny
one? This is bad. This is more fun. Okay, guys, so you got to work hard, okay? Yeah, they don't want to hear that. They want to have the crack.
Who do you think has the brightest future in the UFC right now?
Boring question, but yeah, you know, anyone that's willing to work hard.
It's not, though. I mean, coming from a skill perspective on how you look at it.
Brightest few, I don't know, man. There's like 600 fighters now, so it's hard to pinpoint them all in my mind. You know what I'm saying?
Right. How about country-wise? Which country do you think has the brightest future in terms of new roster?
That's a good question. I don't know. It's amazing that we haven't had more Thai fighters.
Right.
Has there been any Thai fighters?
So what happened is that we had one Thai fighter that's actually from Bangtao.
In the UFC?
Not currently in the UFC. He was going for the road to UFC. Unfortunately, he didn't make it. So currently, there is no male Thai fighter, but there's one female.
Yeah, that's right.
One female.
Yeah, but that's crazy. I think once, you know, the Thai fight, I mean, some of the Thai boxing talent, obviously, in this country is ridiculous. Once they learn how to grapple and stuff, it's going to be insane. They're going to take over the sport. So I'm not just saying that because I'm in Thailand. I've said that for a long time because the fighting ability and the fighting spirit in this country from the fighters that I've seen over the years is just, it's remarkable. But human beings, if you go through enough sacrifice and you go through enough shit in life, are capable of great things. And there's a lot of people that struggle all over the world. Australia, I think that they're going to have a bright future. But yeah, there you go. We've all had enough. It's hot. It's sweaty. These guys are bored. He wants a beer. You know, I'll take a beer.
Would you ever do a Muay Thai fight? If you could have gone back in time, would you have liked to do more Muay Thai fights?
I had a lot of kickboxing fights.
Yes, you did.
Kickboxing fights with the silky pants on. But yeah, Thai boxing, I would have loved that.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Set one up. Get me down the stadium. Let's go.
Right. So you have actually watched fights here already in Thailand, right? And you're going to watch some more in Phuket this week?
Yeah, I went to the fights last night.
Right.
Brilliant experience. Some good fights there. Yeah, had an amazing time.
All right. Well, it was great to have you here, guys.
Thank you
lastly,
all.
One last. You're last.
What's that? DDP or Hamza? What do you guys think? Drickus. Hamza. Yeah. I mean, I haven't done my prediction video for my YouTube channel. And if you haven't liked and subscribed or rang the bell, what are you waiting for? Probably Drickus. I don't know. Hamza might go out there and smoke him in 2 rounds. He might do. But if he doesn't, he does get tired. He gets tired in over 5 rounds. I think Drickus probably finishes him in the later rounds. But we'll see. That's what makes it a great fight.
All right, guys, so give it up for Michael.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
Bisping.
Appreciate you all. Thank you. Thank you very much.